welcome to WTN Informer. I am Desiree Mago. Let's take a look at what's making the news. Victory is ours was the phrase used by Pelican workers who were sent home just 2 weeks ago after the Court of First Instance decided to overturn the court decision for workers to go back to work. It was an emotional scene at the Weifel building. Leader of National Alliance, William Marlin, president of the Weifel, Theophilus Thompson, at the Weifel building speaking to workers.
Before election, the politicians know how to fix everything. They know how to fix. After election, they drop those papers. Lord, have sympathy on the poor people. Why Weifel everyone have to go to courts to get justice when you could fix it? You know? Now you don't know what to do, but before election you know what to do. Remember, all these people have Dutch children, grandchildren Dutch. You're going to need them because once a man, twice a child. Bye-bye.
Happy day for us. The war is on. Yes. This is just another battle victory. Victory! The workers of St. Martin have been challenged. It so happened that we, the workers of Pelican, now since the resort, we are on the front line. We will not allow nothing to stop us from gaining complete victory for all workers on St. Martin. If we were to lose any of these battles in the war, then the workers of St. Martin would have a sad following day. So we're going to make sure that we win every battle along the way. Sometimes we might have to retreat for a better position, but we're going forward. We won the first court case. It was challenged. The appellate court made a legal and technical blunder. We filed a court injunction asking the judge to stop the execution of that decision from the appellate court, and that what happened before the 5th of this month, that it go back to status quo. That has been done. Today, the judge ruled in our favor, and it means that we are going back to work.
On Friday, members of Parliament of the National Alliance called for a meeting on the Cooperate Governance Council. During the meeting, DP member Leroy DeWeaver was critical on the intention of members of the National Alliance calling this meeting on corporate governance.
Is that not made up of the same members that today are trying to now say that government does not want to introduce the corporate governance which they and us are responsible to have been put in there in the first place during our course of an Island Council? I believe it was the last Island Council meeting or the last Island Council body that met on this island where that body was installed. But Madam Chair, you can see again that there's not seriousness because one of the most senior members in this body here today have requested the minister to be here. We have Article 62, which specifically states that in the event a member of parliament requests the presence of a minister or ministers, That request should be in writing, it should be properly motivated, and it should be signed at least by one other member, meaning to say a minimum of 2 members. Today what we see, we have a lot of grandstanding, basically accusing government. And I stand here not defending any government or representing any government. I represent Leroy De Weaver, elected in the Parliament of St. Martin. When I need to take an attack on those that is governing in terms of the executive part of government, I shall do so. But what I cannot have is when members, senior members, come here and perpetrate to the public that something is amiss, that something is wrong in our procedures, that something is wrong in the way we do business. And I, for sure, do not need to be reminded by no governing body of the big shots that sit on this governing commission and ask and to remind parliamentarians of their responsibility. I do not need to be reminded of my responsibility, Madam Chair. What they need to be reminded is the following, is that during the tenure, or during these guys being present, they submitted to government a budget of approximately 238,000 guilders. 90% of that budget was made up of fees and payments to them as individuals. I only saw a post there of 9,000 guilders, which represent rent for buildings that they supposedly are in. In a letter dated April 14th, if I recall very well, April 4th, government signed by the Minister of Finance submitted a proposal in the amount of 400,000 guilders as an advance for this body to be able to operate.
The Permanent Committee of Parliament for Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunications met with the St. Martin Real Estate Association on Friday. The 2 agenda points are the introduction of the St. Martin Real Estate Association and recommended adjustment of rules for the industry. The Real Estate Association, St. Martin, was, however, not invited and decided to show up at the meeting anyway. The association was asked to leave, and the president of the group made the following statement.
Well, first of all, it was a big surprise to us when we opened the paper today to see that there was a real estate meeting going on with Parliament that we were not invited to. For the record, I'd like to point out that we represent 20 companies, the Real Estate Association of St. Martin RAM, whereas the group that's having a closed session with Parliament represents 5 companies. And of those 5 companies, one of them is owned by Mr. Leroy De Weaver, or he's certainly a shareholder in one of those companies. So this, I mean, I think that the facts speak for themselves as to why we're not being permitted in there. This being said, they're discussing legislation and new policies that will affect our livelihood, our business, and I don't see what's so top secret about that, and I see no reason why we can't be involved in the discussion. We came here after realizing we were not invited just to simply listen on what was being discussed, and apparently we're not even entitled to that right here in this democratic country.
Which, that's the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, of course, you're not being allowed today.
Correct.
But the opportunity is offered to organizations to write Parliament and request to have the meeting.
Exactly.
I'm guessing that's your next step.
Absolutely. We plan to do this right after this interview. This being said, we met with the Central Committee on Monday, where we gave a very productive presentation, I thought. We had reviewed all the topics that were to be discussed. We were very well informed when we spoke on those topics. And we were actually told that we would be invited back to meet with this exact committee here at a later date, which no time was then set. So again, it was a major surprise to see that we were not involved in the discussion today. While we were waiting here for this meeting to start, Mr. De Weaver was outside, and we politely asked him how come we were not invited to this meeting, to which he said this meeting was requested by this association. However, just a few minutes ago, Ms. Cressida Arundel contradicted that statement by saying this association was actually invited by the current committee that's meeting. So again, I don't see why there's so much confusion on such a basic topic, and why there's no transparency here. Again, this is a conversation that involves our livelihood, our industry. We represent 20 companies, they represent 5. I don't see why we're being excluded from the discussion.
And we all are supposed to have the best interest of the public and St. Martin at heart.
Correct.
So it should be a unification, whether we're 2 associations or 1. This doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely.
What is there to be hidden?
What is exactly? What is so top secret that we can't at least listen to the discussion? It's bad enough that we were only being permitted to listen, now not even that. Again, we feel very adamantly that we should be involved in these discussions.
The St. Martin Youth Parliament hosted a forum on the school's code of conduct on Thursday evening at the St. Peter's Community Center. The focus of the forum was to discuss and debate the rules placed in high schools. WTN Informer was on hand, where parents and students alike asked questions and gave their opinion about the rules. Minister of Education Rhoda Arundel was also present. Duanisha Richardson, an acting director for the Milton Peters College and the Sundial School Vital Carty, gave their take to the audience on Thursday evening.
I think that phone calls made in the office should be free because some schools charge a fee to make phone calls if the call is not directly related to school. On an average, 98% of the students who answered the questionnaires wrote the above said as their two main concerns. The remaining 2% stated that they had absolutely no problems with the school rules. Even though these two rules are set and can be found in the student's handbook, there are a number of rules that the students have a very strong dislike for that are not clearly stated in the student's handbook. Other rules that the students, the female, have problems with are the rules pertaining to their nails, hair color, and accessories worn in school. For the male students, again, the hair and accessories. Although there are other issues that concern the youth about the rules and regulations, the two that stood out from the survey are, one, the rule pertaining to the type and color of shoes worn in school, and secondly, the no phones and no electronics rule. I would like the panel to please address these two concerns before we touch base on any other issues.
I think the word rule had a negative feeling on the whole thing. It's actually agreements that you will put in place to make your organization flow. That's actually what should be. I remember when the phones were very popular, I'm talking about the Blackberries and stuff, the regular stuff, like my phone, cheap phone. It was allowed at the schools. It was allowed. So many of you do not know that it was allowed without any problem. We didn't have no problem with the phones until we realized that the phones were really taking a bit of focus from the educational path. Phones were really in the class, then we asked them to put it silent, and they were still answering the phone. I don't think, if you ask me, the whole purpose of coming to school is to be focusing on what we come to do. And the phones are, we can't get rid of it, it's technology we have to use, but having the phone as the first thing in school is not really the best thing that you're looking for.
And that brings us to the end of WTN TV Informer. I am Desiree Mago. Enjoy your weekend.